Make better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch is brought to you by Nedbank.
It's a very good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. This is Business Watch brought to you by Nedbank Eswatini. My name is Lungelele Makakula. Do watch us on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV. We are on DSTV as well, channel 286. The country has been featured in the prestigious Forbes magazine in its April-May 2025 issue. This global spotlight is a significant recognition of Eswatini's economic potential and reform agenda. So what does this feature really mean for Eswatini, and how can the country take advantage of this platform to advance its economic goals? Senator Bia will join us today in the studio to help us break down the opportunities that come with this feature. And also coming up on the program today, Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla, our business journalist, sits down with Alliance for Financial Inclusion's Adeyemi Omotose to discuss a national fintech strategy to drive inclusive economic growth. Then later, SME consultant at Nedbank Eswatini, Kosi Ngwenya, joins us to talk about asset insurance. Do stay tuned. For now, let's go straight to our first story.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while Human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with Nedbank Private Clients.
Welcome back, and for our first story, last week the Minister of Finance, Honorable Neil Reichenbach, joined world leaders in Washington, D.C. for the prestigious World Bank and IMF meeting. Top of the agenda for Eswatini was smarter debt management. The minister revealed that talks focused on strategies to improve Eswatini's debt handling, including a plan to convert World Bank loans into rands to ease payments and shorten repayment timeframes.
The minister shares the key outcomes from the IMF World Bank meetings.
We had meetings with the U.S. State Department just to clearly understand the situation in Eswatini regarding the tariffs and regarding the U.S. aid cuts. Very healthy meetings with them, and just made sure that everyone understands where we are on the relationship front with the USA, and those were productive. We believe that in time we'll be able to get through this situation with the cuts and the tariffs based on the meetings that we've had. Otherwise, then meetings with the World Bank, quite a few different meetings because there's different entities that you deal with the World Bank. But first of all, just the support on the loans that we've currently got in the pipelines, the budget support loan, the ones for the electricity access, as well as the ones going in the future with there's a loan that we're working on now regarding ICT, all that in the pipeline going well. But what is very exciting is we have the new IDA windows, which is much cheaper finance that Eswatini now qualifies for. And that means that there's a large grant element to the financing, and there's a huge youth project that we are currently working on. And so otherwise, then we had meetings with the Fiscal Affairs Department,
Eswatini's economic growth projections remain unchanged for now. This was said by the minister in reaction to the revised world economic forecast currently being at 2.8% from 3.3% and 1% for South Africa from 1.5% for the year 2025 as projected by the International Monetary Fund.
Because Eswatini isn't affected virtually by the tariff wars, not directly, there might be an indirect effect through our major trading partners. But at this stage, we haven't looked at reworking our forecasts yet.
Eswatini's economy was projected to grow by 8.3% this year. Eswatini's total public debt reached 35.5 billion emalangeni in December 2024, representing 40.7% of the gross domestic product, and this debt includes loans from the World Bank. For Nedbank Business Watch, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, some visuals from the Ministry of Finance.
Eswatini made a contribution through the nationally determined contributions of reducing carbon emissions by 5% by 2030 and up to 14% if external financing is sourced. The Ministry of Tourism and Environmental Affairs under the Department of Meteorology Climate Change Unit, in partnership with the United Nations Development Programme, hosted a meeting on the NDC 3.0 revision process on Tuesday. We asked Business Eswatini about the sector's contribution to these targets.
The government in COP26, they made a nationally determined contribution under the Paris Accord of 2015 to the United Nations that this country will by 2030 reduce greenhouse gases by 1.04 million tons by 2030. And government did say, they nailed their colors to the mast to say the private sector will be part of that engine to achieve that objective. Now, 1.04 million tons of greenhouse gases. And Business Eswatini, we have decided will come from the renewable energy aspect of it. By contributing those projects, we have now maybe 2 or 3 major projects concurrently running, which hopefully will be coming on stream this year, in trying to meet those objectives which were placed by government. So we're here to say, the ministry, they are revising those targets before they go report to the United Nations. So they need our contributions to say, are we still, happily, I think we're still on target. In fact, they might revise them even higher, which would be very good. So we're looking together that contribution in reduction, but we're also looking at adaptation strategies together, and we're also looking at mitigation strategies, how we can move forward as a country, how we achieve the efficiencies at factory floor level along the private sector to really drive those objectives.
Well, and that's it for our business news. Thank you for staying with us. It's 8 minutes after 2. After the break, we connect with Sanellis Bia to discuss the prestigious feature of Eswatini in the Forbes magazine. Welcome back. You're still watching Business Watch, powered by Nedbank Eswatini. The country has been featured in the prestigious Forbes magazine in its April-May 2025 issue. This global spotlight is a significant recognition of Eswatini's economic potential and reform agenda. What does this feature really mean for Eswatini, and how can the country take advantage of this platform to advance its economic goals? Joining us now via Zoom to break this down is economist economist, Sanele Sbiya. Sanele, a very good afternoon and welcome to Must Watch. What does this Forbes future release signify for Eswatini? It surely is an international exposure. Does it mean more economic opportunities?
Thank you, Lungelele, and hey, good afternoon to the viewers. So, as you may know, that the Forbes magazine is actually one of the prestigious magazines across the world. So, a feature in that prestigious publication really is not something to take lightly. It will actually go a long way in advertising the country to potential investors and actually just letting know the country, the world, that the country is open for business. So what this does is it gives us a broader range or a broader reach compared to what would basically attain when we are going one-on-one. One-on-one, where you're going to country on country and you are moving from region to region. And I must say this, Lungelele, that as a country, we need to take this as a positive step in the right direction because, I mean, if you watch globally, countries do advertise themselves in on the likes of your CNN, your BBC, and quite these big other media outlets. So the fact that we're able to feature on the Forbes list, the Forbes Africa list as a country, really does show that we are doing something beautiful. And what we need to do is just leverage on those to get the much required direct foreign investment to come into Eswatini.
I mean, Eswatini is known for its rich cultural heritage, Sanele. Has Eswatini been able to strike the balance in maintaining the rich cultural heritage and establishing the country as a powerful force in the international commerce, in the international commercial scene?
I think as a country we have been able to advertise ourselves in terms of, being a culturally diverse and, a tourism type of destination. But what we're lacking on, which I think this feature does in a way make up for that, was the advertising of Eswatini as a business destination, taking into consideration or taking that route of your mainstream media to actually advertise the country and let people know that Eswatini is there and is open for business. Let people know that Eswatini has that rich cultural diversity where you can come and enjoy doing both commerce and while at the same time you enjoy and you are able to reap these big businesses. So I would really expect that going forward we need to do more of this as a country where we are promoting the country to both domestic, regional, and international investors, while at the same time we do promote the fact that we are a relatively stable country and we have this rich cultural diversity and, we are quite a welcoming people, so that people know that, Eswatini is open for business and you are going to reap this stability and, also putting our investment packages out there so that Eswatini not only gets known for our rich cultural diversity, but also we need to package ourselves as the destination for business, right? So you don't need to separate the two, though, Lungelele. You do not need to separate the way you advertise the cultural diversity or the way you advertise this the Eswatini as a business destination. But what you basically do is advertise the country as a whole, as this one product that offers both a rich business environment and a very lucrative cultural scene and tourism scene. So we need to package an entire Eswatini as an entire investment destination, Lungelele.
Yeah. As we are seeing, Mr. Sbiya, Eswatini is ramping up in various sectors. An example is the renewable energy. Eswatini is investing in renewable energy and also embracing technology. Are we evolving with sustainability and innovation?
Thank you, Lungelele. The fact that the kingdom is really pushing towards that, entering that green energy infrastructure and also the fact that we are letting the world know that we are open for business really does show that we are moving towards business in a sustainable way as a country. And that way, if we package ourselves as such, we're able to attract those businesses that one would call, those fair trading businesses, sustainable business ventures. Because when you think around how you attract capital, Lungelele, capital goes, but there's also the responsibility behind it, and you have to think of the way in which that entrepreneur thinks. So we have this wave of capitalism right now, Lungelele, where people invest for a cause. Not only are they just investing their money to make profits, but there must be a cause at which that they are supporting. People want their products to get this green certification. People want their products to come from a fair trading type of environment. So yes, Eswatini is moving towards sustainability, but at the same time, we are moving to, we do want to optimize what we call the bottom line. Optimize your profits while you are moving towards that green direction. Thank you.
Yeah, surely this feature has exposed Eswatini internationally, Mrs. Bia. Would you now say that Eswatini is a great option for investors seeking a market that is steady and also progressive?
Yes, that's how this feature places Eswatini. That's how it portrays Eswatini. That's how Eswatini is portrayed in this feature. So what I would say, Lungelele, is yes, we need to do more. Right now, what I would say is we need to be deliberate. Tell the world what we want them to know. We need to control the narrative. Let us not just be content with being a feature, but it is quite a feat because, this is the Forbes magazine we are talking about. But right now, what we need to do is become more proactive in selling the country in ways that we want the country to be viewed. We need to be able to control that narrative, and we need to be able to know which type of investor we want. But we have been portrayed as an investment destination, as a country that's been growing, and more so, the fact that we are within SAC, we just have access to this entire Southern African market, which is part of the biggest in Africa, and also being a progressive environment, and also the fact that we have stability in the country when you are thinking of it in a very delicate global geopolitical landscape. So, presenting Eswatini as an alternative to those other countries really does put us in good footing as a country in terms of trying to regain that foreign direct investment, which we need so much as a country and have been struggling to attract over the past few years and a few decades, in the decade before and the decade. So this is a very good step in the right direction, and we need to ramp up more on these efforts, Lungelelo.
Yeah, I suppose you have read the Forbes, the article by Forbes. Various ministers were interviewed, such as Minister of Commerce, Finance, Tourism, and Energy. Also, the Prime Minister was interviewed, and he said governments will rigorously pursue the vision of Eswatini to move from a lower middle income country to attaining a high income country classification. Are we able to do that as Eswatini? Will we be able to achieve that goal?
Definitely, Lungelele. When you look at our economic matrix, right, it shows that somehow we are there. There isn't much that needs to be done except a few things here and there. But in terms of when you look at the gross domestic product of the country, you look at the per capita GDP of the country, those are metrics that are telling of a nation that is relatively wealthy and a nation that is doing very well for itself. What we need to do, therefore, Lungelele, is one, we've always spoken about redistribution, and we also need to invest in getting Eswatini in a position where we can attract high value investments into Eswatini, where we're moving to ensure that when we want to attract those chip manufacturers into the kingdom, it's possible. When we want to attract those fintech investors into the kingdom, we have the skills, we have the background, the bedrock infrastructure, and we have the ability to export. We have the right transportation links. So it's quite a small thing, a few things that need to be done, Lungelele, but it is quite an attainable feat if we put our efforts behind it. I mean, we've done it with HIV, so nothing is impossible when the people of Eswatini put their hearts and minds behind things.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Sbia, for your insights. Always appreciated. That was Sanele Sbia, our in-house economist, just getting his insight on Eswatini being featured on the prestigious Forbes magazine. We go for an ad break. We return shortly. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching Nedbank Business Watch. We're joined by Kosi Ngwenya. She is an SME consultant at Nedbank Eswatini. Today we're talking about asset insurance. What is asset insurance and what assets are covered under this insurance? A very good afternoon, Kosi. Thank you for coming back. Yeah. So today we're discussing asset insurance. Who gets covered? I will assume it's SMEs, your clients, most trusted clients. Tell us more about what is actually asset insurance.
Thank you, Lulu. Good afternoon to our lovely viewers. Talking about insurance, most especially asset insurance, Lulu, it's for the SMEs. It's for those people that have assets that they want to cover. You can cover your trucks, you can cover your businesses, as long as you have something that's valuable to you. So. That you need cover for in the event of a loss or an unforeseen circumstance. So you are covered for that. That's where the insurance comes in. Yeah.
So even cell phones, because I know some people do not cover them, but some opt to cover cell phones. Do cell phones fall under this insurance?
Under the homeowners. Under the homeowners, for those clients that have personal accounts that want to cover their homes, contents in the house, that's where the cell phone comes in, or your laptops, because those are the assets the valuable assets that you take out every other time. So you can cover them.
Yeah.
Anything that's of value to you, you can cover.
Okay. Yeah. So after signing, when am I eligible to claim? For instance, I have an accident or something, my assets has been stolen within a month of signing with the Nedbank's insurance. When am I able to do my claim?
Okay, a good one, Lulu. Clients need to know there's no waiting period. It's not like a medical aid type of. As soon as you sign the policy, or as soon as you get into that contract with the insurer, that's immediate cover. That's immediate cover. That's when you get to pay your premium. Even after you paid your premium, signed your policy, you bump your car, whatever, then you are insured.
So, Kosi, let's talk about the importance of insuring our assets. I know that some people haven't embraced the culture of insuring, because some say they pay the premiums or they pay lemali monthly, and we get that after 5 years nothing has happened, no incident has happened, and they can't do any claim, so they just forget about insurance. How important is it to insure your asset?
Lulu, like I've said, insurance comes in when there's unforeseen circumstance, because we can't control what happens on the outside. We can't control the environment. Right now we've got hails, you can just drive your car and you just drive into someone, or someone drives into you, vice versa. So you never know what can happen. Like, that's why it says it covers you during the unforeseen circumstance, because some you can find that I've been driving my car for 5 years and nothing has happened, and then you stop paying insurance. The next day, boom, then what? So as long as it's a valuable asset to you, I implore clients to keep it covered, especially those high value assets like your trucks. If you are a businessman and you are a truck owner, make sure those are covered. The trailers are covered. You have tracker, because there's discounts for having a tracker on your vehicle, by the way. Because then if something hijackings, because the trucks, you've noted they go in and out of the country, right? So you find people waiting there just to hijack those. That's a valuable asset, Lulu. It's millions. We are speaking millions, and once someone hijacks the truck, then you are done. Even the goods that you are transporting, you are done. So I implore clients, SME clients, even those businesses, just cover those things. Cover those things, because really, you buy a truck with Nedbank. We want you to cover that asset before it can leave the dealership. It has to have cover. Something happens, like we are saying, you can say, I'm a good driver. I pay attention, but what about the other person that's not paying attention?
True.
Yes.
So what am I actually covered against? There are a lot of hijackings nowadays. People get into a lot of accidents. Unfortunately, there's a lot of theft. What am I actually covered against? There's fires as well.
There's
if my
fires
house
as
is
well.
caught fire, are those amongst the things that I'm covered against?
Okay, thank you, Lulu, for that one. You are covered in the event you have a car accident, even if it's an accident where you're just bumping your own wall. If the car is damaged, then you are covered. If that asset is damaged after that event, you are covered. Hijacking or a near-miss hijacking, because you find that sometimes your car is recovered after that hijacking, but you know how these people go and they start tampering with you, so it's covered. There's third party. Even if you do bump someone with your car, maybe the person that you have caused an accident for is also covered, and you are also covered. That's under the comprehensive cover. Even those unforeseen environmental changes, there is hail, there is strong winds that come and damage our cars, you are covered. Windscreen damage, you drive behind a car, a stone just hits your windscreen, you are covered. Yes.
So how long does my claim take to be processed after submitting it?
After submitting, the most important thing, Lulu, that I would encourage for our clients, you report the claim as soon as an incident happens. As soon as an incident happens, make sure you get a police report for every incident. Make sure you get a police report, and as soon as the loss occurs, then you are able to report. Maybe you report to your broker, you report to your banker. So, I've just had an accident, so that we are aware that we are expecting a claim from client so and so. Then you go around, you get your quotations. After the police report, you get quotations. Some you might find, some insurers, they say maybe we need 3 quotations from different dealers. Some you find, I'll just bring one, which you prefer. Yes.
All right. So let's talk about costs now. What determines, the cost of insuring my assets? It depends on
the value of the asset that you are insuring for. The value of the asset, a car that you can't insure a car with the same amount as you insure your truck, right? Because trucks goes into millions and then So the value of the asset, the age of the asset, the age. You find another truck is for 2024, another one is for 2005. So there's depreciation value there. So the value can't be the same. And in essence, the premium can't be the same. The age of the driver, because you see, when you are 60, you tend to drive in a different manner than a 21-year-old. And when you're in your 30s, the maturity on the driving, So it also determines that Lulu.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I pay insurance for a relative or a family member? For instance, I'm a parent and I want to take out insurance I want to pay insurance for my child. Is that even possible? How does that happen? Or a relative such as a sister, a sibling, I want to pay insurance for her assets, but she's not she's not employed.
She is not employed. That's a tricky one, Dulu, because for every insurance that is taken, there should be an insurable interest. So what is your interest in that asset that you want to insure? Do you have an interest? Yes, I am a parent. I bought the car for my child. Maybe the car can be insured in my name because I'm the person that has the insurable interest. So you can't just say I bought my son so a car, so the premium or the policy will be under his name, but it can be under myself because I have the interest in what I'm insuring.
Okay.
And with that, it comes with a certain because if I'm paying, so the pinch is there, so I will take care of the car in a different way. Then, so what's your interest in what you want to insure? So insurable interest should be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want us to focus now on car accidents or theft. Let's say I'm involved in an accident or my car has been stolen, but outside the country. Am I still eligible to claim?
Yes, you are eligible to claim Lulu, as long as it's in the SADC region. Most importantly, when you are going to drive your car outside of the territory of where you are covered, it's very important for you to alert your insurer to say, I'll be driving maybe to Mozambique, because there's also a special insurance that's taken for countries if you are going to Mozambique,
Okay.
So there's a certificate that's being issued for you. But if you are going to take the car outside of the territory of where it's covered, it's important for you to say, I'll be driving to Lesotho, I'll be driving to Botswana, so that we are aware that you are. But otherwise, even if you can't do that or you haven't been able to do it, it's still covered as long as you are in the SADC regions and as long as you have a police report to say your car has been hijacked.
Yeah,
and as long as you have paid your premiums, then you are covered.
As long as you pay
most importantly
religiously, every month.
Yes.
All right. So still on accidents, in an instance where I'm involved in an accident and it's my fault, will insurance assist?
Yes, like I said before, there's comprehensive cover.
Okay.
You are covered should you cause damage to your own asset or you cause damage to another person's asset. So it's comprehensive, it takes everything.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So let's talk about tips and important information to note.
Tips and important information.
With the policy documents, it's important to read through your documents before signing.
Thank you, Lulu, because the tendency is that we just, as clients, come in and sign, and we don't read the fine prints. So I would say to clients, once you get the policy schedule, familiarize yourself with the terms and the conditions so you know what's covered, so you know, and the rate of which it's covered, so you know what's not covered or what the exclusions in that policy. So it's very important that you go through the schedule.
Okay.
You see? Yes, so that you just know what's there. And also to make sure that your premiums are paid in time, because it will give you the duration, or because some pay like quarterly, some you find premiums are paid yearly, some you find monthly. So you know the dates of which you are supposed to be paying or the dates on which you are going to be debited. So also that it's there in the schedule.
Okay.
And also the reporting time, that's very key. Like report a claim at the first instance of a claim or an incident.
I don't even have to wait a day, 24 hours. That's late. Unless I'm unconscious.
Yeah. Unless you're unconscious. You're unconscious, but the police are going to be there, obviously. But as soon as you're able to talk to your insurer, you say, you just take a call, I've been involved in an accident. So we are expecting a claim from the client.
Okay.
So some clients have a tendency to go a month later, but I thought it was just a minor thing, but 2 weeks at least. 2 weeks at least.
Okay. So before you conclude, Kosi, what documents are needed, to apply for insurance?
The documents that we would need, it's like in case of a motor vehicle, we need the invoice, so we know the exact cost of the vehicle or that asset. And even if you are buying a business, we should know, buying into a business, how much is the business costing you, you know? So we know if it's fitted with it, does it have a tracker? Does it have a trailer? So we know I think that one is key, and then it will be the director's documents, depending on what we are covering, and the documents for that business if we are covering for a business.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So lastly, contact details. How do clients get a hold of you guys?
We have our insurance department, the Nedbank Center Mbabane, and also you can just visit any of our branches countrywide. You get information on the insurance. You can find us on X. You can find us on Facebook. You can call our help desk at 3278-1999. Otherwise,
it's all there. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lulu.
Yeah, of course, the SME consultant at Nedbank Eswatini. For more details on their assets insurance, to contact them or interact with them on the social media pages, or to visit one of their branches. They are available countrywide. As Bakalita Magete, siyabuya khona manje.
Thank you so much for joining us on Nedbank Business Watch.
Welcome back. You're still watching Business Watch, powered by Nedbank Eswatini. We continue with our program, the Alliance for Financial Inclusion, with support from the Alliance for Financial Inclusion, FAI, the Ministry of Finance, Central Bank, Financial Services Regulatory Authority, and other key stakeholders in the financial sector are developing a national fintech strategy to drive inclusive economic growth. Speaking to business journalist Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla, AFI's Adeyemi Omotoso described the strategy as a crucial tool to bridge gaps, boost access, and empower citizens through technology. The strategy promises to transform the way Eswatini's access financial services, making them more affordable, accessible, and secure for all.
Adeyemi, thank you so much for joining us on Nedbank Business Watch, and welcome to the Kingdom of Eswatini. We are seeing that Eswatini is forging its fintech future by developing the national fintech strategy. Can you briefly tell us why is this strategy so important for our country?
Thank you very much for having me. The national fintech strategy, like any other strategy, that focuses on how do you get more people included, how do you bring them into the formal financial sector, keep them there, and give them the opportunities to grow, both economically and in terms of their financial well-being. Strategies are usually important to help guide in terms of how do we position where we are as a nation to get to that end goal. Secondly, it also gives you a very clear direction on how to get to that end goal. So in a similar fashion, the National FinTech Strategy allows both the government of Eswatini, and this involves the Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank of Eswatini, the Financial Services Regulatory Authority, to work with stakeholders, to work with the industry, to figure out what strengths do we have within this industry, what opportunities can we leverage on, what gaps or barriers do we have to deal with, and based on that, try to build something that helps achieve some concrete goals. So one could be, how do we develop our digital infrastructure? So this could include your instant payment systems that will allow people to make payments easily at a very low cost, instantly, because you want to mimic cash as much as possible. And once you're able to do that individual goal, you can build on top of it. So the more transactions people do digitally, the more transactional records they have, and that can now give you access to finance. So for small businesses, when a bank or a mobile money operator or a non-bank understands your footprint, how you behave, how you spend, how you save, it gives them a better opportunity to serve you with credit or with access to finance. And again, the opportunity here is you don't have to go into a physical building to go apply for these things. The essence of the fintech strategy is how do we get services to you where you are, in the context of where you are, in your local language, on your phone, to make sure that the services you need to thrive can reach you wherever you are.
I am interested in knowing what is it that you are doing as the Alliance for Financial Inclusion to support Eswatini, the central bank, and the Financial Services Regulatory Authority in developing this strategy.
So AFI will support in a number of ways. One, we provide some resources they need to actually get started. So this could include some funding resources, funding grants to the members. Following that, we also provide technical support, which is bringing in expertise to help develop this specific strategy. And the expertise will come from both institutional expertise or experience. So we look for other members within the network, because we have about 90 regulators within our network. So we look at the network, who within the network has a similar experience, who has gone through the same journey of thinking about a strategy, drafting one, launching one, and implementing one. So we would share that experience with colleagues here in the Kingdom of Eswatini. And we would also, again, like we're doing today in the last 2 days, trying to bring together all the stakeholders that need to talk about these things. So our role here is basically to facilitate and provide guidance to make sure the important things are discussed, the consensus is reached, everyone is very clear in terms of what they need to do and how they have to take it forward. And finally, we also help when it comes to technical reviews. So having a strategy developed in silo is usually not best, particularly if you can leverage off the intelligence, the experience of others. So if you have peers who are also regulators like you, who also have similar mandates like you, if they have gone through this process, what we do at AFI is we try to allow these members who have this experience to take that time to also look at your own framework, to look at your own strategy, and provide constructive feedback to it. So again, they can help you improve or even highlight the things you might have missed. So in a number of ways, that's how we support our members in achieving the goals they've set for themselves.
The country currently has a financial inclusion strategy 2023-2028. I am sure before you came to Eswatini, you did a bit of groundwork. I want to understand, how is our country performing in terms of financial inclusion, and if there are opportunities, what are they where we can maybe expand in order to ensure that Eswatini financially included?
Fantastic question. So Eswatini, like any other country in Africa or even anywhere else in the world, first has a strong buy-in from leadership, and this is both at the government level and across the ministries, all the way to the central bank. And that's very important because that gives the continuous and persistent push you need for all the initiatives that are running concurrently towards financial inclusion to work. So again, you are targeting it in different ways because everyone is at different parts. So the idea of inclusion basically is, how do we have a plan that is holistic, that leaves no one behind? So you try to address the different concerns and barriers people have. So if it's barrier to opening an account based on having a form of digital ID or physical ID, so there will be initiatives addressing that. If it's a barrier based on distance, or it is quite far to go to a physical bank or an agent, then what digital tools can close that gap? If there are barriers to how do I access finance as a small business owner? So same thing like I shared earlier, we try to address all of those. So you see across the different ministries and agencies, they are working together to address these gaps. And Eswatini has done quite well. Compared to other countries, again, they've shown tremendous growth year on year in terms of closing the gap, making sure more people have access to basic financial services, and now they are focused more on the quality of services people receive and how we can also improve access. Then more specifically to how and what opportunities we see within the fintech space. When we look at barriers or gaps, And this is not even peculiar to Eswatini alone. Usually those gaps are things we find innovation can solve. So if it's the gap when it comes to access to financial services, and access means before you have to leave your home, transport yourself a few kilometers or even a few hours away to get to the nearest branch, go join a queue just to speak to a person to open a bank account. You can actually save all those productive hours by sitting at home and getting the same things done. You can sit at home and also have access to credit or access to finance. You can sit at home and have access to a perfect savings plan, or even talk to an advisory agent that would advise you on the best investments to do. You can buy the insurance you need to protect your crops, to protect your home, to protect your business. All of this we find innovation and digital technologies are making happen. And that's exactly why we want to double down on that opportunity to say, beyond all the other initiatives we've done, how can you leverage technology to address all the consistent gaps or the persistent gaps that you see? So even if it comes to education of people in terms of what's the right product to subscribe to, how do you save? How do you actually buy insurance to protect yourself? So telling an adult to find time to go to a physical center to be taught about these things might be difficult. But if you can design curriculums that can be delivered digitally to them in their local language with a few animations, so again, they see both the visual and they can also hear someone in their local tongue explaining to them the value of insurance, the best way to get credit, the best way to repay your debt. All of these things can be delivered using technology, and that's the essence of the fintech strategy. It allows you address how do you make financial services available, how do you ensure that there's access to those financial services, how do you make sure people use them responsibly, and how do you make sure that the quality continues to improve. So the more people understand the kind of services available to them, the more opportunities you can avail to them. So that's just the connection between the current progress Eswatini has made and why they are also focusing on trying to expand and improve on those things using technology.
The Central Bank of Eswatini recently introduced the FinTech Regulatory Sandbox. How does it speak to the strategy that is being currently developed, and how will it contribute to financial inclusion in the country?
Absolutely, great question. So the idea of a sandbox is more of how do you as a regulator test and learn. So there's always this saying that innovation moves faster than regulation, which is quite true across the world, because innovation is basically people with ideas, businessmen with ideas, companies with ideas on how they can improve the lives of people. And usually people will be creative and they would always create these new ways of getting things done. So one thing regulators have recognized is rather than say, do not do it or stop doing it because I do not understand it, you give them this opportunity to come and test it, but within your own supervision, within your own oversight and supervision framework. And that's the essence of the sandbox. And that clearly links to what we're trying to do with the fintech strategy. It's usually a pillar within the fintech strategy. The ability for you to, again, welcome new innovation, even though you're not familiar with them, but you welcome it, you provide guardrails to protect the consumer, to protect the market, to protect the reputation of even the institutions that support it, and to make sure that everything that might go wrong is already catered for, and you understand what that innovation is about. So after you've understood the risk associated with this innovation, how it might impact the consumer or how it might impact your financial system, then you can come up with the right regulations to make sure that, again, this solution can actually be scaled within the following parameters that you've set for it. And that's the essence of the sandbox. And it very well complements the fintech strategy.
My take home from this conversation, Mr. Omotoso, is that the national fintech strategy will fuel entrepreneurship as well as ensure financial stability. Thank you so much for joining us on NetBank Business Watch today.
All right, so that was business journalist Nelson Dlangamandla having a conversation with the FAI's DME Omotoso. After the break, we're joined by Toba Kamete from NetBank. We'll take a look at today's market analysis. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Watch, powered by Nedbank Eswatini. It's 11 minutes before 3. We want to take a look at today's numbers with Toba Gamete. Toba, very good afternoon and welcome to Business Watch. Yeah, let's start off with looking at the international markets, particularly in the U.S. Economic data is expected to come out today. Take us through.
Good afternoon, Lulu. Yes, so we are expecting quite a number of key economic data to come out of the U.S. This week. Today, well, later this evening, our time, we're expecting the U.S. to release their PCE number, so that's the personal consumption expenditure number. It is the Fed's preferred gauge of inflation in the U.S., and investors or markets normally use that to sort of get hints of what the Fed is likely to do in terms of its interest rate trajectory. A key one also that's coming out on Friday is non-farm payrolls, which speaks to unemployment in the U.S. So it gives an indication of how the economy is doing. Are there job openings being created, or is the employment sector or the employment pool shrinking? So those are the key data that markets are looking at seeing this week coming out of the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I read that there are reports that the U.S. economy was struggling even before this month's tariff sweep. If this is true, could this ramp up the chances of a 2025 recession?
So it's a number of things. Yes, we've seen sort of a sluggish economy, data suggesting that the U.S. economy was slowing down, even pre the tariffs, as you've said. But we are also seeing a lot of de-escalation of those tariffs and all of that. So there is hope that we are going to see an improved U.S. economy. But at the same time, I think that the Fed also has, a few levers that they can still pull to make sure that the economy probably doesn't go into a recession. They can lower interest rates, which is what President Trump has been fighting them for, if you remember from our conversation last week. So they can still lower interest rates and other policy mechanics that they can use to try and revive the economy.
Okay, so let's move right along and take a look at currencies today with the VAT being reversed in South Africa.
Yes.
What's happening? Has the rand gained its strength?
So in early trade this morning, we saw the rand losing a bit of the strength that it has acquired in the past 2 days against all major currencies, 18.62 against the dollar, 21.15 against the euro, and 24.88 against the pound. So this afternoon, Minister Godongwane, the finance minister, addressed the media and informed the public that he will be presenting the revised budget on the 21st of May, 2025. This is after the scrapping of the increase in VAT that was proposed, or that was previously presented when the budget was presented. So we will be presenting a revised budget now that excludes that increase. So revising the expenditure as well as income that the country is expected to see. But I think from his comments this afternoon, he was more on the country's ability to manage its debt better. So it seems that will be the focus of the budget that we are seeing. So other than that, there is a bit of economic stats coming out of South Africa, but those have not really impacted the rates in as much as market volatility is concerned. So it's mostly on just global pressures as well as just the uncertainty around the budget that's sort of shifting or moving the needle.
Yeah, all right. So moving on now to commodities. We just want us to get into the effects of tariffs on both oil and gold today.
Yeah, so commodities are in the red today. So in terms of oil, I think we've seen the drop in the price of oil, reaching levels of about $5.59 I think that was last night. But today it's trading at 65.48 per barrel, still very low. And I would say that most of the producers of oil are saying that they need at least $65 for them to make money. So anything below that, it means that they are losing money. So weighing heavily on the price of Brent crude has been the effects of the tariffs, because that presents uncertainty and it also slows down economic activity. So if there's less activity, then there's less demand. Additional to that, we've also seen OPEC Plus announcing that they will be continuing with hiking or increasing their output in terms of oil. So that speaks to now more oil and less demand because of the tariffs that are implemented and sluggish economies. So that has weighed heavily on the price of oil over the past couple of weeks. Yeah, but we're going to see how that pans out with the de-escalation that we're seeing of the tensions between the US and China and other countries. Maybe that will sort of drive economic activity and drive demand up, which will then increase the price of oil. Gold, on the other hand, is also down. Gold has been a safe haven for investors from the beginning of the year. We've seen the price of gold going up to levels of $3,500 US, but it has, in the last two sessions, yesterday and today, lost a bit of ground. The first one being the de-escalation of the tariffs or the tensions between the US and China, which then gives investors some sort of relief and some sort of edge to test riskier options with their money. So then they tend to then put gold on the side and look into stocks and equities. So we've seen that. So that has sort of weighed on the price of gold, as well as the stronger dollar that we are seeing. As you would recall that if the dollar is going up, gold will go the opposite direction.
Okay. So lastly, we take a look at equities today. They are in the green zone today. Yeah. So how's that happening? Yeah. So equities are doing quite good. There are a number of things that are happening. As you can see, all of them are green. The S&P 500 at 5,560.83, the FTSE 100 at 8,476.56 pounds, and the JSE All Share Index at 91,903.15. We are seeing a number of these corporations reporting their first quarter earnings, and we are seeing some of them are reporting quite good numbers. With the S&P 500, we're expecting AI giants like Microsoft and Meta to report their earnings later today. So investors are looking to see what that would look like. But so far, most of the companies that have reported have shown quite good results. Coming to the UK, the FTSE, we've seen Barclays Bank today reporting 11% increase in their profits from last year, which is quite good. We've seen GSK in the health sector also reporting good numbers as well for their first quarter. So it's mostly pushed by first quarter earnings. Right. Thanks so much, Toba. Well, that was Toba Kameta from Nedbank Eswatini for today's market analysis. It's 3 minutes before 3 o'clock. We'll quickly go for an ad break and we'll come back and wrap up the show.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while Human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with Nedbank Private Clients.
All right, so it's a minute before 3 o'clock. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of our episode this Wednesday. This is the final episode this month, final episode of Nedbank Business Watch. Catch us again next week, Wednesday, for Nedbank Business Watch at exactly 2 p.m. We'll see you next week. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Make better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch was brought to you by Nedbank.